video cameras caught trucks arriving at the World Trade Center from about August 23rd until every night until about September 2nd, September 3rd. And the trucks were arriving at about 3 o'clock in the morning when everybody else had left the building, including the janitorial trucks. And the trucks were leaving at 5 a.m. right before the AAA personalities of Wall Street got to work to start their day. Something was brought into that building that would help with the detonation. There may have been work done on the detonation before. It may have been going on for months, but whatever they needed at the very end, they came and brought in that 10-day period. That's what we think happened. The airplane hijackings were a cover for the controlled demolition, which was undertaken by a small group of people, probably just 4 or 5 people. We are never going to know who they are, and it's not worth looking for them. And in August of 2001, I was told to stay out of New York City because the attack was considered imminent. We expected mass casualties and a possible miniature thermonuclear strike, a bomb. However, I want to be very clear. The attack was always defined as airplane hijackings and a strike on the World Trade Center.
Recruited by Al-Qaeda.
It was over a year before 9/11. A Pakistani British man told the FBI an incredible tale that he'd been trained by followers of Osama bin Laden to hijack airplanes, and he confessed he was now in America to carry out an attack.
After gambling away money sent to him for flight training and afraid Al-Qaeda would come after him for betrayal, he turned himself into the FBI. He detailed the plot to fly a hijacked plane into the World Trade Center, in which he was a part. This was April of 2000. A member of the attacks turned himself in and confessed to the attacks. He also disclosed that other agents were inside the United States.
Khan tells NBC News that for the next few weeks, he was trained by Al-Qaeda to hijack passenger planes and sent to the U.S. But when he told the FBI, headquarters was skeptical and ordered him released.
I told him before the 9/11, about more than a year, we hijacking in America Airlines.
Khan says he was sent to Lahore, Pakistan, and along with perhaps 30 others, taught hijacking basics. Did you think about all the other people you would have killed?
No.
You didn't care?
Not that time. If I die, it doesn't matter. Because this life anyway, it's no good.
After about a week, Khan says he was given money to fly from Pakistan to Doha, Qatar, London, Zurich, back to London, then to New York, observing flight operations. Upon landing at JFK Airport, Khan says he was supposed to go to this taxi stand, find a man in a white prayer cap, and use a code. Khan claims he got cold feet. Instead of meeting his contact, he slipped away, gambled away all his money, and in fear turned himself in and confessed.
To Pakistan, I know about this hijacking, something going on.
For 3 weeks, the FBI in Newark interrogated Khan, created composite drawings of his terrorist trainer and a fellow student. NBC News has learned Khan passed not 1, but 2 polygraphs. A former FBI official says Newark agents believed him, but word came from headquarters, quote, return him to London and forget about it.
Another man, Randy Glass, claimed he knew of the coming attacks. Glass was an undercover operative trusted by the U.S. working for the FBI as an informant.
Dateline obtained dozens of tapes of a government informant talking with people about arming terrorists, including this New Jersey man named Dia Moishan.
I'll take you to the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan.
The talk is deadly serious.
I'll kill him. I'll kill you.
And there's no attempt to conceal who might ultimately receive the weapons.
He is very connected to the Taliban. You know who supplies him with money? Who? Yeah. Bin Laden.
The conversations were recorded by Randy Glass, a con man in trouble with the law who offered to go undercover and pose as a weapons dealer.
The story was that I had people that were stealing these military weapons.
From the U.S. military.
Correct, from the U.S. military.
The investigation, which ran from 1998 to June 2001, was orchestrated by agents from the Florida offices of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and the FBI.
Randy Glass's undercover work eventually led to a dinner meeting in New York with a mysterious man from Pakistan named R.G. Abbas, who Glass says made no attempt to hide his feelings for Americans.
Told me that Americans were the enemy, and he looked around the restaurant and he said we would have no problem with blowing up this entire restaurant.
We would have no problem blowing up this entire restaurant
because it's full of Americans.
And Glass says Abbas's people wanted to buy all sorts of weapons, even components for a nuclear weapon.
They inquired if it was available.
And you said?
Yes.
And they responded?
They were interested.
Today, in a phone conversation with Dateline, Abbas denied trying to buy weapons. But Dick Stoltz, one of the federal agents who worked on the case, said the people he was dealing with meant business.
You had to realize that the people being talked about as customers for these weapons were the most wanted terrorists in the world.
That's correct.
Bin Laden?
Correct.
Did you think they were serious?
Oh, absolutely.
Glass recorded his meetings, and on July 22, 1999, he wiretapped a meeting at the Tribeca Grill with an arms buyer, Raja Ghulam Abbas.
During the course of the conversation, I asked him exactly what his intentions were. After dinner, as we walked outside, he pointed in the direction of the World Trade Center and said, "Those towers are coming down."
Randy Glass became so concerned about what he was learning during his work as an informant that he wrote a letter to Senator Bob Graham.
Francis X. Taylor told Randy Glass, "We know all about planes being flown into the World Trade Center." Randy Glass hadn't mentioned planes. He had mentioned a threat that he knew about from these Pakistani spies who were trying to buy arms on the international market. So Randy Glass really starts freaking out. He starts faxing Senator Bob Graham and other people this information. And you can see this in my book. Here, let me grab a copy here. This is something I put in the book. On the inside back cover in orange is a facsimile of the actual fax that Randy Glass was trying to fax at that time. And it's a pretty amazing document. You know, he said something like, "I know I'm way in over my head here, but this thread that I know about, the thing that the State Department said about planes being used, you know, even the agents I'm working with are really concerned, and please have somebody call me."
On file and dated July 16, 2001, 2 months before 9/11, Glass writes to Graham, "Please tell me what is going on. I've told you repeatedly about my terrorist case, the sophisticated weapon system, nuclear components, the targets of blowing up the World Trade Center, and who knows what else. These people hate Americans. This information I've gotten from the State Department about the airplanes being used."
I had been threatened by FBI agent Steve Brodowski that if I mentioned any of that, I would be charged with obstruction of justice.
Abbas turned out to be a Pakistani ISI agent. Yet again, another intelligence asset connected to Al-Qaeda. Senator Bob Graham stated he was surprised to see foreign governments involved in the attacks.
Also, I was surprised at the evidence that there were foreign governments involved in facilitating the activities of at least some of the terrorists in the United States. I am stunned that we have not done a better job of pursuing that to determine if other terrorists received similar support, and even more important, if the infrastructure of a foreign government assisting terrorists still exists for the current generation of terrorists who are here planning the next plots. To me, that is an extremely significant issue, and most of that information is classified, I think overly classified. I believe the American people should know the extent of the challenge that we face in terms of foreign government involvement, and that would motivate the government to take action.
Are you suggesting that you are convinced that there was a state sponsor behind 9/11?
Onto the front of the airplane.
At the time of the attack, the Pentagon was in the initial phase of a massive renovation project. As part of this renovation, it was Dr. Malacher and his fellow engineers in Vicksburg that had helped design the Pentagon's protection against terrorist attack. By sheer coincidence, the terrorists on 9/11 had managed to strike the only part of the Pentagon that had already been retrofitted. The difference between the two sections was astonishing.
There was actually a brick wall that separated two offices near the corridor 5 side, and on one side of the wall was an office that was quite occupiable, that you could move in there tomorrow, and on the other side it was a totally burned out office. There was just ash everywhere.
The part of the building most severely affected by the crash was in the newly renovated section, and what happened here was nothing short of miraculous. Although the first floor and part of the second floor were destroyed, the remaining 3 floors survived for 20 minutes, suspended in midair.